So if you want to plan ahead, the test over circuits is going to be on Thursday, okay? So that's gonna get a little bit glitchy because I've got to be gone Tuesday to Bueller for this Kansas City Bueller thing, but we'll work around that. So here's what we got today. We're gonna talk about the lab that you started on yesterday. So yesterday, not on yesterday, yesterday. And then we'll get done with that, and then we'll introduce the next lab, which we will start today, which we will wrap up on Monday. So, no, you're really not gonna have any homework over the weekend. Okay? So, now, I didn't plan that. Don't act like I care about the song, and I purposely scheduled this so you didn't.
Oh, I don't care. That was scrapping.
Okay.
Exactly.
It randomly works out.
I'm
Okay,
killing kids in
now.
Africa for you, bird.
On the lab, any calculated value has how many decimal places to the right?
2.
Even if those are zeros, all right? Because what can happen is that that's going to follow off downstream in terms of like if you vert it up or you pivot up or however you do that. Now, there's a couple of ways how you can handle the calculation of power. You're going to get the same answer, but it might get a little bit different depending on how you round things. And that's why I said, hey, let's have 2 decimal places out to the right. So, for example, if you look on page 2 on question number 19.
Page 19?
Question 19
Oh,
17.
sorry.
on page 2,
I didn't know.
where you want to calculate the power dissipated by each of the 3 resistors, okay? So, on that one, you could pivot up, you could use I squared R, you could use V squared over R. I don't care. Just at least show me one of those calculations on how you did it. Hello?
I have a physics question for you.
Okay.
Did I do this right?
No.
Should this be the same as this, or is this right?
No,
Because these
that
are 2
one's
completely
right.
different units.
No. Okay. They did multiply by big G, the universal gravitational constant.
Come on. Hi.
Don't come on, no. You know I call him KSU? You know what that stands for? Cohen, shut up.
Oh.
So if we're having a KSU moment,
That's it.
yeah.
I was trying to figure out what the U would be for like Cohen subs. I was trying to figure out what the U. That's like
Oh,
umbrellas. Like I don't know what the U would be in this, but Cohen shut up
Yeah,
works
but
a lot better.
Cohen
Yeah.
sucks up?
I've denied. I've denied.
Cohen sucks up.
Cohen
No.
sucks
He doesn't
umbrellas.
know.
Only when necessary. Like when he's handing in another late assignment.
Yeah, he's desperate.
That
Don't
too.
look at my desk right now.
Oh my.
Bag, peanut M&Ms, and a case of Mountain Dew Code Red, and you say, Burkham, I'm so sorry, this is late every single time.
Every time.
Every time.
No,
It happens
has-
daily.
that-
It has a
happens
box
daily,
of
so he's
peanut
broke.
exactly that he
He'd be
hasn't
broke by
eaten.
now.
Doesn't matter.
That's a bit much. I prefer donation to this whole thing.
I have given you so
I know
much money.
you have, and you
A
know
great
why?
quantity of
Do you
money.
know
You
why?
know
You
why?
give so much money because you have so many late assignments.
No, because I'm a generous, kind soul.
And you also are whiny about your test grades.
That I want to know immediately what I got, so I pay him and then he grades them.
Sure.
Now, that sounds bad, like I take the money. Like Burkamp, well,
I
slipping you
mean, it
20.
does sound suspicious when Cohen puts it that way.
The way Cohen put that,
Yes.
it sounds sketchy.
Sounds like he's giving you money under the table.
Why?
It does.
I have a
Bribery,
$5
really wanted to
bill.
call it.
I mean, I could
Yeah.
maybe,
And if
Wait,
it's bribery,
so
then Bert's
wait,
going down with me.
Wait,
if you
what are
don't,
the
that's
units
Whoa,
for
whoa,
being-
whoa, whoa, put that arm down.
Wait, what are the?
Cohen.
I have the same genetic disability as Elon Musk. And I have photographic evidence from my childhood. I promise you, I have more than.
Guys, does that mean we can do it too?
What are the units? What are the units on Big G?
Which one? There's
Big G, the
multiple.
gravitational constant.
Cubic
Peterson?
cubic AU per
There.
inverse year.
Shush.
Square per mass of the sun.
It's newtons meters squared over kilograms squared. That's why the kilogram squared cancels out and the meter squared cancels out.
This is being recorded.
Wow, units for the win.
Straight to the YouTube.
Specify. Hey, I finally got to use that.
Oh, it
For
really
real.
doesn't make any sense.
It really does.
All to be stored on the YouTube
Okay,
channel.
anyway, back to our story.
All that to be stored.
So, yeah, on question 19, since there are 3 ways to calculate power, I care not, okay? Just pick one.
Can we get a gap?
On the powers,
Sense.
this is an ish,
Okay.
but they're 4 to 8,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
okay? 4 days, okay?
Good job, Bo.
Now, when you get to part 2 on page 2, here's the only thing that's going to happen, is that now we're going to put in a 4th resistor. So where that alpha is, between 7 and 8, this is where you're gonna break that, and now you're gonna put in a 4th resistor, okay? So now you're gonna have the 1 resistor over here, you're gonna have these resistors here, and then you're gonna have another resistor there. So that resistor, when you break it, needs to have 5 ohms, okay? The default setting is 10. Make sure that you've got those resistors set to what those need to be. So on number 2, because if 2 is wrong, that equivalent resistance, if that's wrong, about everything is going to be wrong. So that answer on number 2, and this is very relevant since it's prom weekend, that answer should be a little bit above the legal drinking age.
Okay.
Okay?
In which
Not
country?
not what you think it is because it's prom, or what your big brother says, oh, come on, no. Okay?
That's a legitimate question. In what country?
It's here. So, and I'll tell you now on some of those answers on like 5 through 8,
Hold on, that was brilliant.
on 5 through 8, you might have the same answer more than once. Okay? So don't flip out if that happens. Now, when be very careful about, when I'm asking you, KSU,
Hey, KSU, pay attention. And shut up.
you don't get to vote either there, CSU,
CSU.
Yes, you.
Colorado State and K-State. So,
Go Rams.
So pay attention to which resistor that I'm talking about. On 15, when you do those power calculations, this is an ish, are somewhere between 2 and 5. All of them. On 15 are somewhere between 2 and 5. Now, when you get to the last question, here's what's going to be different about the last question. You got a battery, you got the resistors, but what's going to be different is that that battery has an internal resistance of 2 ohms. And you can adjust that if you want to on that program. But hopefully, by this point, this becomes old hat, and the only thing different is that we're throwing in, hey, here's some internal resistance within the battery. Now, when you get to question G, on that last question, part G, says, why does the 10 ohm, even though it has less resistance, dissipate more power than the 40 ohm resistor? Okay? Do not just say because the calculation said so.
The
Bad.
math.
Bad.
The Oracle spoke.
Math worked.
Here, there's a couple of ways you can do this, depending upon how you look at how you calculate power. You might talk about the one where you have v squared over r. You might talk about where you have I squared r. Okay, you might talk about piv. I don't care. But you have to give some mathematical justification for that answer. Okay? Do not just say, yay math. Okay? Tell me what's staying the same and what was bigger or smaller. You can say something like, oh, well, the current stayed the same, but the resistance was less, or something like that. Okay? But just don't say, oh, because it mathed that way. Now, just a word of advice. As you go through this, this is very much reflective of how the test is going to go on Thursday. And I know you can build these circuits. So what, if I were you all, I'd try and do the calculations first. Then I'd build the circuit and see if it matches up, okay? That way you're gonna get an idea of like, hey, am I doing this right? Because if you look at these and you go, man, I have no idea how to do this, this is bad, okay? On the test, you're not gonna have this simulation to build the circuits. I know, call me a jerk, but you're not gonna have that. So just keep that in mind. You can use it as a guide, but here's the dumbest thing that you can do, is build the circuit, you have no idea how to calculate the current, and you move the little sensor over it and you get 1.34. Oh, I'll just write that down. Bad, okay? Make sure that you understand the math. Cohen?
How large of a donation do we need to make in order to have the circuit builder on the test?
It's not going to happen. Enough that I could build another solar array to power an entire, like, big circuit. How about that?
How much would that cost?
North of 200,000.
So if we all like team together,
Rookie
we all
numbers,
pitched in, I think we
rookie
could do it.
numbers.
So there's about 20 of you. So,
Where's Gershon when you need him most?
No. You gotta go to like some people's parents.
well,
Like I can think of who, if I actually needed to raise that, who I would go to.
Dane's.
No, does she actually play mine?
okay. Anyway, we might talk. We might talk. Okay, so get that done, and then I'm going to introduce the next lab once I kind of get a feel for everybody being finished. So you're on your own for now. All right, Danny, stop the camera.
I burned just the battery when you